I'm Mr. Khan. Welcome to my second season with you. Yesterday we looked at the IndyCar Series. Today we're looking at the World Touring Car Championship sanctioned by the FIA. And it had 12 rounds this year all over the world, to Africa, Asia, South America, North America and Europe. And we had some Chevrolet cars, as you'll see it in the background. This is Race Pro again, and this is actually World Touring cars from 2007 or 2008, I believe. And you're looking at Rob Huff and Alain Manuel, because they finished in the top two in the championship this year. So I thought I'd show them in the background while I talk about this year's championship. And they've been with the Work Chevrolet team since the World Touring Car Championship began in 2005, and this was their final year because Chevrolet announced in July that we were putting the works effort, and so this is their final year for glory for Huff or Menu to get their first title. I'm not going to say who got it. I'm going to talk about the story of the season, and then you'll find out at the end. But they were paired with Nicola Rini at first until the Italian retired in 2009, and then Van Miller's been with them for the past 3 years, and he won the past 2 titles. So we're looking for a new name on that trophy. And the World Touring Car Championship actually evolved out of the European Touring Car Championship of 2004, which was won by a Briton, Andy Priaulx, in his BMW, and he won the first 3 World Touring Car Championships in the BMW from 2005 to 2007. Van Miller won the 2008 championship in his Seat, and then in 2009 he got pipped to the title by his 50-year-old teammate Gabriele Tarquini, the Italian, who's also been an F1 driver in the past, in the 80s and 90s, and he finally got a world title at the age of 50. And as I said, Van Miller's won the past 2 titles in 2010 and 2011 for Chevrolet, and so we're expecting him to be fighting for the title again with Huff, who really came strong last year and gave him a run for his money last year, and Menu being Mr. Consistent throughout his time with Chevrolet. Huff has really improved from when he first started with Chevrolet in 2005 to now. So Menu's been consistent, and Miller has always been at the front, and so we really do expect a great title fight between these 3. And behind them we had customer BMWs and Seats, because Seat pulled out of the sport before the 2010 season, and BMW did likewise before the 2011 season. So we had all these independent drivers behind, and we expected just the blue team, the blue corner of Chevrolet, just to run away with it like they did last year with no competition at all, really. But we were in for a shock. We were getting some Seats, we were getting some BMWs, we were getting some independents, being these jokers in the pack, interrupting this title challenge at the front. Chevrolet did have their problems as well, such as tyre wear in Austria, and then the team kind of imploding in China and Macau. But it was just adding to the entertainment of a very good World Touring Car Championship, a very good 2012 season. And we're going to start in Monza, Italy, the first round, and it looked like Miller was just going to continue where he left off last year, a double win in Monza. Behind him, Rob Huff got a double podium. Menu got a podium in the sprint race, but in the feature race, the first race of the season, he could only come 7th after having some problems, and Gabriele Tarquini took advantage of that to grab a podium, and he retired in the sprint race, the second race. And we went to Valencia in Spain. Miller again got a win in the feature race, and Menu got his first one this season in the sprint race, and Huff only managed 4th and 6th, finding it really tough to go through the pack, while Menu also proved it likewise in the feature race of a 5th, and Miller in the sprint race with an 8th. And so who stepped up? Tom Coy now in his BMW. He got a double podium in Spain. He was actually right up there in the title fight after the first couple of rounds. And we also had Tarquini get a 2nd place after qualifying 2nd in the feature race. And in the sprint race, Stefano D'Aste in his BMW got a podium. It's a sign of better things to come for the Italian independent driver. And in Morocco, third round of the championship, the only round in Africa, and Huff, he's starting to get his wheels together. He's starting to get on a roll now. He's starting to get in the swing of things. Double podium for him, 2 second places. Menu got a win though, and got a third place in the sprint race, which was won by Muller, who also got a third place in the feature race. So it's business as usual in Morocco. Behind them, Tom Cornell got a fourth place in the sprint race, and Stefano Desne got a pair of top fives, and Pepe Oyola, the young Spaniard teenager in his Seat, he got a fourth place in the feature race, and he was really had a strong start to the season. And then fourth round we went to the Slovakia wing in, you would never guess, Slovakia, and this was the first time the World Touring Car Championship had been there. And it was a nice circuit, some nice elevation, some good corners, but it's a modern circuit, had some modern tendencies, which was a bit of a shame. But it saw a new winner. It saw Tarquini in his Seat win from third on the grid, the feature race, ahead of his teammate Dudecado, the Russian with Luca Yomani, which the team was named after. He came second behind his team leader, his only podium of the year and his best race by a mile this year, and he qualified second on the grid, even out qualified Tarquini, and he was really on form. Unfortunately, in the sprint races for the pair of them, didn't work out really. Dudecado came 15th. Tarquini did get a podium behind Muller, and the winner, Huff, he got his first win of the season, but after that feature race win, maybe he could have been fighting for the win in the sprint race as well. He did show great pace. Menu in the sprint race, he retired after a podium in that first race behind the Seat pair, and after this round you could see Menu again being consistent. Muller up and down, he's either getting wins or podiums or not getting any results, and Huff was gradually again improving. And then we went to the fifth round in Hungary, the Hungaro ring, and this really was the round of the season. Well, not the feature race, that was business as usual. Muller winning from Huff and Menu, with Mendy Benani in his BMW qualified fifth on the grid and finished fourth in the feature race. A great drive from the Moroccan, with Pepe Oyoya behind him, and Thiago Montero, who had a difficult year in his Seat, he got a pair of top five finishes, and so before he went on to the Honda effort, he was getting some results going as well. But the story of Hungary was the sprint race, and it was the winner of that sprint race. It was a Hungarian, it was a national hero for them. It was a Hungarian team, the Zenko Motorsport team. It was Norbert Mikulec, the independent point leader. He won this race, and the crowd went wild. It was a magnificent moment, the moment of the year in this championship, and one of the moments of the year in all of motorsport, in my opinion. It was a great moment to watch on TV. Menu came second, and in third came Benani, confirming what a great car he had that weekend. His best weekend of the season by miles. I know he had some good ones in China and Japan in particular. But as I said, Muller, he was inconsistent. He won the feature race, he only came 10th in the sprint race, and Huff, he only came 7th. Tarquini retired from the feature race. They could only manage 6th in the sprint race, and so going to the halfway point of the championship, the 6th round of the season in Salzburg, Austria, it was looking like the independents could be those jokers in the pack on these customer cars, could really fight with the Chevrolets, and Austria really did show it again. The feature race, business as usual. Huff won from Muller and Menu. Tarquini was 4th behind, and Montero continues good form with 5th. And Alex McDowell in his Chevrolet, his customer Chevrolet from Bamboo, Engineering. He was showing some good pace as well, and he got 6th in that feature race. But then in a sprint race, the Chevrolets suffered some tire wear problems. They could not keep them going the whole race distance. McDowell retired. Menu retired. He crashed out, and Miller could only finish 8th, but Huff managed to get a great 2nd place behind Stefano D'Aste, the Italian who got that podium in Valencia. I said he was going to do better. He got his first win in the series, the independent BMW driver, the Werner Sports. Werner Sports? I apologise if I announced that wrong. Driver. He won ahead of actually a BMW of Tom Carnell. He also got on the podium. Peppo Oyoyo was 4th there, and Norbert Mikulits continues good form in 5th. And so at the halfway point, we had Huff and Müller at the front, but Müller, he was just staying in front of Huff by 8 points. Menu was 3rd on 175 points, 23 behind Huff, and Coronel was 4th ahead of Tarquini. A nice battle for 4th in the championship there, separated by 5 points. Peppo Oyoyo, as I said, great start to the season. He was ahead of Norbert Mikulits by 10 points. Stefano D'Aste was 11 points behind Mikulits. Then we had Frank Enzo in his BMW, and Benani, who, despite a great weekend in Hungary, was not having so great weekends elsewhere, and so he was 5th in the championship on 41 points. But it was really a fight between the top 3 established in the Independence Trophy standings between Oyoyo, Mikulits and D'Aste, just as it was in the Drivers' Championship between Müller, Huff and Menu. So we went to Portugal, Portimao, for the 7th round of the championship. Huff continuing some consistent form. Podium in the feature race, 4th in the sprint. Menu 5th in the feature race, a win in the sprint. Müller, a win in the feature race, a 5th in the sprint. There's nothing really to separate them over the weekend points wise. And Tarquini, he got a pole. He got 2nd in the feature race, and Cornell got a podium in the sprint race behind Peppo Oyoyo. I said that Seat driver was having a great start to the season, and he proved it in Portugal with a 2nd place finish in the sprint race, his best result of the season. But unfortunately, after that, he had a couple of off weekends, and then so that Independence Trophy standings really closed up with Mikulits getting a couple of top 10s, really qualifying well in Portugal in the feature race and got a 4th place finish, but only managed 10th in the sprint race. And you had D'Aste, who had an off weekend in Portugal and in Brazil the next round, but again he came on strong later in the season. And so we do go to Brazil, the 8th round of this championship in Curitiba, a nice staple of the World Touring Car Championship Canada, and I'm glad it's going to be on it next year. You always get entertaining races, even if it's business as usual at the front, much like it was in the feature race. We had Müller from Menu from Huff, and we had Tarquini behind, and in 5th was Michael Nasia making a return, the Danish driver. He was driving actually a Chevrolet in place of Di Sabatino alongside Alex McDowell. He's in that Consumer Bamboo Engineering team, and he had a great weekend back in the championship, 5th and 6th in Brazil. Unfortunately, he didn't drive any more races, but it was a great outing for the Danish driver. And then the sprint race, as I said, business as usual at the front though. Huff from Menu, and again Müller in 4th behind Tarquini, really being the joker this weekend. Mikulits came 5th ahead of Naija, and you had Cornell in 7th, Benani, Montero, and then Dudicado getting a top 10. And so we went to the final third of the season, and it was the USA, it was Sonoma, it was the first visit for the touring cars to the track, and it was a Müller victory in the feature race, but it's Huff who had the strong weekend. He came 2nd in the feature race and won the sprint race. Well, Menu did not get it going in the feature race, had problems, but he came 4th in the sprint race, and Müller had problems in the sprint race. And so the joke in the pack this weekend, Mikulits and Tarquini. Mikulits got a double podium, really strong at this point, is leading the independent title by some miles now due to problems for Daste and Oyoyo, who got no points, and Daste, he got a pair of 9th places. But Cornell, top 5 in the sprint race, and Tarquini, he got 4th and 3rd. And Japan, business as usual in the feature race. I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? Menu from Muller from Huff, and in the sprint race it was 6th for Muller, 5th for Menu, and 4th for Huff. So who won the sprint race in Japan? It was that guy Daste. He was coming on strong in the later part of the season. Tarquini came 3rd, and in 2nd was Oyo, another 2nd place for the young Spaniard. And as we went to the final 2 rounds, it was really close at the front. You could not tell who was going to win because Muller and Huff were equal on points. Menu, Mr. Consistent, 38 points behind them, and Tarquini had pulled out a gap on Coronel in that battle for 4th place. Mikulits was leading from Oyoyo in the Independence Trophy by 10 points, with Daste a bit behind, and McDowell having a strong middle part of the season up to 4th, with Engsler in 5th. And so as you went to China Shanghai, penultimate round of the season, we were looking at Huff and Muller and Menu. It was Muller who cracked. He retired in the first race. He had suspension problems on the first lap, and then in the sprint race he was battling through the field. He was fighting with Menu in the first corner. He tapped him sideways. He finished 3rd on the track, but was given a 30-second penalty after the race and finished 13th. So it was Menu. He came 1st in the feature race and 2nd in the sprint race. Huffy came 2nd in the feature race and 1st in the sprint race. And it was Huff who was leading by miles going into the final round in Macau, and it surely be the first Britain champion for 5 years. And we had Tarquini behind them, again having a good weekend in 5th and 6th, and Cornell getting 4th and a podium in the sprint race, and again a podium in the feature race. That guy Daste, and he got 4th place in the sprint race. And so going into the final round, they're going to have to update the standings again because Huff was winning the championship by 35 points. He just needed 1 points finish really in that final round in Macau, a tough street circuit though. Menu jumped up to 2nd ahead of Muller by 6 points. Tarquini had virtually guaranteed 4th ahead of Cornell. They had virtually guaranteed 5th in the championship. Mikulits was still leading from Oyo by 12 points, but Daste coming up fast on the outside lane, 3 points behind Oyola. And we had McDowell in 4th and Engsler in 5th. And so Macau, the last round of the season. It always happens at Macau. There's going to be a first lap incident or crash. Touring cars next to tight barriers. Something's going to go wrong. Something went wrong for Huff in the feature race. Leading, didn't touch the barrier. He retired. Menu was 2nd. Muller won the race, and so his Chevrolet teammates were gaining on him. He was only leading by about 15 points going into the final round, and so you still need to get a points finish to really guarantee that championship. And it was Menu who won the last race, but Huff was 2nd behind him. Huff won the championship by 12 points from Menu, 413 points to 401, and Muller, he was 3rd on the podium, and he ended the championship 8 points behind Menu. And in the feature race, Tarquini was 4th, and who would get that podium spot in the feature race? Thiago Montero in the Honda. A sign of things to come next year maybe, and he came 4th in the sprint race after some crazy accidents as well in that race. And there's a pair of 5th places for Dao Ouyang, the local man, getting a great last weekend of the championship. Frank Enzia getting the 7th and the 6th overall, and so it's a really good weekend for the independents as well due to those of accidents around. And In the end, it was Huff, Menu, and Miller at the front. Tarquini came fourth. Cornell came fifth. Mikulits was sixth. He didn't get any points in the last two rounds, but he was still sixth in the championship ahead of Daste, Oya, Montero, and Bernani, with McDowell just outside the top 10. I know it was a great campaign for the young Briton in his customer Chevrolet, and hopefully he can improve next year if he's around. Engzer was 12th, and so in the manufacturers, of course, it was Chevrolet who's going to win from the customer BMW and Seat teams, and Seat was last, third, 33 points behind BMW. Now in the Independence Trophy, Mikulits, I did say get no points. He still held on for the title. 13 points from Oyola. Daste, 4 points behind Oyola. Engzer, he came in at the last. That great weekend in Macau meant he grabbed fourth in the championship from McDowell, and O'Young was sixth. Benani was seventh, and it was the end of a great season of World Touring Car Championship action, and I hope next year is just as good. We've got Works Honda and other teams. We've got customer Chevrolets, BMWs, and Seats. We also got Ford in there as well with Team Ion. So I hope it's a good championship and can kind of match this year's championship. It was really interesting in the end, even though we only had one's work teams. You wouldn't think that, but just the dynamic in the team changed over the year, and we had good fights from the independents at the end, really mixing it with the Chevrolets, and the customer teams really mixing it with the Chevrolets as well. So I hope you enjoyed this season review. I'll be back tomorrow. So now out for watching. So till next time, cheerio.